Hi there, it's Carl Irwin, the Common Magician, and I wanted to show you something interesting. What we're going to do is going to require a shuffled deck of cards. So if we take the cards and I give them a really good shuffle, just like that, we can proceed. That was the first shuffle that I did that was actually a real shuffle. The shuffling that I was doing up to that point was entirely false, blind shuffles. And what I want to talk to you today is about shuffling false and when to do it and how to do it and why it doesn't have to be a really complicated endeavor, and you don't need to necessarily do the Cadillac version of false shuffles. So first of all, one point I'm demonstrating here is that if I'm shuffling and not talking about shuffling as if it is important to what we're going to be doing, then the heat is not on. Yet, the fact that I shuffled is still useful. It is still useful to whatever comes next. It's buried into the subconscious of the spectator, and they accept that the cards are shuffled. And this is how false shuffling should be done. If you consider for a moment that a person that does a gambling sort of demonstration, that is a card cheating sort of a demo in their performances, they have an interesting advantage in that what they're doing is presenting something that they tell the spectator they are doing falsely. And the game then becomes for the spectator to watch closely with eagle eyes and scrutinize what they're doing. And the amazement therein is that everything looks fair to them, yet it doesn't come out fair. That is the gambling demonstration side of it. Now, contrast that with a magic performance, which is not a gambling demonstration or a demonstration of cheating, but rather the use of cheating methods to try to do something true that the spectator believes is true. The spectator is suspicious. They presume that you're doing nothing true. They presume that you're lying about everything in a magic performance. So if we can somehow find a way to flip this script and turn it on its head, that's an advantage to the magician doing a magic performance. One way to do this is to be truthful, as the gambling demonstration practitioner is truthful. They're honest. They are honest about what they're doing and presenting what they're doing with honesty. And the way to become honest is don't lie about the shuffles. If we don't tell a spectator, I'm going to shuffle the cards, and then proceed to do a false shuffle of some kind, we don't have that sort of heat and that sort of rejection of what we're trying to do. There is not the presumption that we're lying when we don't tell a spectator that we're doing something that we're not doing. Instead, if we merely just do the thing that we need to do to portray a shuffled deck, before we even talk about a shuffled deck, if we ever need to at all, then we've accomplished that goal. We have shuffled the cards. The spectator believes that the cards are shuffled. They have no reason to believe not to. And they have not noticed whether or not, with any kind of scrutiny, whether or not the shuffle was true. It's not even in their minds. So this is how it should be done. Whenever you go to shuffle cards, shuffle them when you are on another topic, when you're talking about something unrelated to shuffling cards. If you have to mention that the cards were shuffled, in most cases you shouldn't or wouldn't need to, make sure that you're mentioning it in your recap. Remember that the cards were shuffled when we started. Okay? I'm going to show you 3 shuffles that you can do that are stupid easy. They're very easy to do. They're not complicated, and they pass muster, especially if they're used in this way that I described. So the first one, this is almost exclusively the false in the hands riffle shuffle that I do. It's just mine. It's what I do. It's probably similar to some things that other people do, but it's just what I have gravitated towards. I have done, for many years, I've done the Einstein Shuffle. I never got too much into Truffle Shuffle. I can do that one, but I always preferred the Einstein because it was the first one I learned. I also spent a little bit of time doing the Truffle Shuffle 2.0 because it is related so closely to the Einstein Shuffle. But I've stopped doing all of those, and I pretty much just do this one all the time. And I'm just careful to do the shuffle in an offbeat point when I'm talking about something unrelated. And it looks like this. I take the cards, I riffle them off, I riffle them together, and then I do the cascade finish. And you can see that the angle here is not direct. But even if it was direct, you can see the way that I put coverage on this, it looks reasonably good. And it isn't so much that it looks reasonably good as that it sounds like a shuffle. And that is the first point of this lesson. You want it to sound like what you're doing more than you want it to look like what you're doing. In a dynamic situation where you're able to move around, let's say you're not at a table, but even if you're at a table, if you can shift your body and move the cards around in various directions, sound really matters more than anything, because not every spectator can have a perfect angle of what you want to show them. Spectators don't necessarily, if you want to show spectators one thing, you can really only show one small group of spectators at a time what you're doing. The others that are over here will not get a good view, and you can use this to your advantage. They assume that everything is okay because it sounds like it happened. If you treat all of the spectators as if that's their perspective, you're in a better place. So how do we get the sound of what we want to do and the bare minimum of visuals for what we want to do? It's pretty straightforward. What you're going to do is riffle off about half, and then you're going to riffle in the hands only the top packet on top of the bottom packet. And what I do is I turn the cards inward so that there is no front view of the actual weaving and riffling back here. So I bring them into a sharp V, and then I riffle. I'll give you an exposed view. I just riffle the top pack onto the bottom pack. This pack doesn't even move. I just riffle the top pack onto the bottom pack. So from the front at reasonable angles where people would be able to see, it looks like this. From the side, it looks like this. From this side, it looks like this. And you can see that everything really does look sufficiently good because the sound is sufficiently good. Okay, so first thing is the riffle. We're going to riffle like this. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the free thumb on the hand that did not riffle, that's the bottom packet, and I bring it forward to provide even more cover between these fingers. So I riffle down, top packet on the bottom packet, I bring the thumb forward, and you just need to practice this a sequence of events. And then I square them relatively together, and as I do that, I just spring the top cards into the hand on top of the bottom cards. So again, I riffle on top, the top packet onto the bottom like this, bring the thumb forward on the left hand, and then I spring in. You can show sort of the bottom side of the cards when you do this, or you can show it relatively plain. The fact is that when you do this, it only happens in half of a second, and the thumb is giving some more coverage, and then you can just square up in the hands, and that's it. So all together, it looks like this, and you're done. And again, if the attention is on something else entirely, and you're merely shuffling the cards as an aside, then you've accomplished the goal, and you've accomplished the purpose. You have indeed shuffled the cards, and you're ready to go off from there without bringing any direct notice to the shuffle itself. A second shuffle that I did right at the very beginning was this one here. And again, it operates on the concept of sound. This is not the kind of thing that you do related to the optical shuffle, which you may have seen. An optical shuffle can sometimes mix up the falsification of shuffling cards. Really, all you're doing is you're taking the bottom packet, bringing it to the top, pretending to thumb cards off as you sort of stab at the bottom pack and create that sound. And then you can throw it right back on the bottom and then do it again. If you want to jog out, you can do this and then pick up the bottom packet, which was the top, do the same thing again and correct them. I found that the best way to do it really is just to put it back on the bottom and then do it again if you need to. The key, again, as I said at the beginning with all of these, is that you're just doing it. You are not bringing attention to the fact that you are shuffling the cards. You are shuffling the cards when you're talking about something else entirely. And then you allude to the point or to the fact, or it is just understood that the cards are shuffled as you proceed from there. So again, it's just this part of the optical shuffle, which you may have heard of. It can it can look best if it's actually head on like this, but I found that it really doesn't matter what angle you're in. In fact, there's even a sense in which if you have it angling away entirely like this, and the only thing that you have is sound, it goes right by and is believed. It's very believable. Again, making something believable is making it natural. If you are trying to appear to demonstrate that you are shuffling cards and you want people to see it, that's a problem. If I'm talking about something unrelated, right? If I'm talking about, there's one person one time who did this thing I want to show you real quick, and you shuffle the cards in that way, you're off topic, you're doing the thing, they get both of them, they get the direction of your conversation, and they get the fact that you shuffled all together. So optical shuffle, at least that side of it. Another way that this is done, and again, I don't think it's necessary, is to thumb off a few cards and run in between some of the falsification, and then run those same cards back off again to put them back right. So a couple of ways to do that. And the last shuffle that depends on sound exclusively is a type of Pharaoh shuffle, where you take half the cards and then you interlace them, you weave them together. And again, it doesn't have to be a perfect Pharaoh at all because we're falsifying it. So you weave the cards and you get them in there about an inch. And then what you're going to do is grip the bottom pack with the hands like this, and then you're going to merely spring out the top cards from the bottom. It looks like this in exposed view, and you can hear the sound as it happens. Now what I do is I'm going to square the top packet back over the bottom packet, and I'm back to normal. So what this looks like in performance is a weave like this, and then I riffle them out and then square it up. And it looks and sounds as if I have shuffled one pack into the other in a Pharaoh type weave. So those are 3 shuffles that are based almost entirely on sound, that go by extremely well when there is no spectator scrutiny on the fact that you're shuffling, which is really how all false shuffles should be conveyed. So that's what I have for false shuffles. You can use any one of these at the table or standing at any time, and you can not sweat false shuffles anymore ever again, just with these 3, particularly with maybe one of the first 2 that I showed you there. Really, there's no reason to be concerned ever again about false shuffling cards now that you know this. So good luck with that, and happy magicking.